Good morning.
Welcome to the morning show.
Yeah.
The Big Show with Glenn and Angel on Kiss 92.
Good morning.
Sometimes getting out of bed in the morning is a lot to deal with all at once.
Fans of the New Zealand All Blacks, we've got a treat for you because in the studio we have former All Blacks midfield back, Eroni Clarke, as well as former All Blacks hooker, Nathan Harris. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks very much for having us.
What are you guys doing here in Singapore?
Get straight to
Eroni.
it.
Well, we're long since retired, so we've come to the coaching. So we're here coaching a All Blacks coaching clinic for the week, and it's been wonderful. We get to work with some of our young children and aspiring kids that probably when we started dreaming of being All Blacks at that same age. So it's been really great over the last couple of days, and we'll finish tomorrow working with our next generation of aspiring rugby players.
Lucky kids.
Yeah, I know. Tell us a little bit about the careers that you've had, Nathan. Like when you started. I mean, being from New Zealand, was that always the dream to be an All Blacks player?
I actually grew up in a small town, so there was quite a few All Blacks in my small town. But to be honest, I never thought that I would ever eventuate to that. But through hard work and discipline, it just sort of slowly morphed and finally got the job done to not only just make my family proud, but also our community very, very proud as well.
Yeah.
Amazing. Eroni?
Yeah, very similar. I was born in Samoa, so I'm from the Pacific Islands, and our parents brought us to New Zealand so that they had a good opportunity at life, better than they had growing up in the Pacific. And so I remember as a 7-year-old kid watching this game, and my father said to me, "Boys, we're going to be watching with my brother. We're going to be watching the All Blacks play today." I'm thinking, wow, that's so cool. And they ran out on the field, and these guys were kicking this ball and diving in the water. And I remember quickly turning to my father and I said, "Dad, how do you become an All Black?" And he said, "Son, you have to be brainy." And I thought, wow. But the reality for me, in that moment, like Nate, that's where the dream started as a 7-year-old kid. So, yeah.
Right. Nathan, in your opinion, New Zealand rugby right now, how's the next generation doing?
Yeah, they're pretty good. They've got some really good fundamentals or some academy systems that are working pretty well. That's scaffolded down into our high schools or our colleges. So there's more consistency with more game playing and I guess harder oppositions. So yeah, I think it's in good stead. Obviously the All Blacks or the black jersey is always something that's to be desired to play for. So it keeps on making sure that the next generation keeps on trying to get better than their opposition or that other person in that position. So it's definitely growing. We've seen a massive influx of our European and other countries that have really got a whole lot better. So again, when we play against other teams, that level of expectation is to win, but it's also harder, which makes us even better. So it's in good stead.
Now, Eroni, the past few days you've been seeing our talent here in Singapore. What do you think their potential?
I mean, that's the wonderful thing about being coaching at this age group. You see this young rising talent. You see the aspiration. You see the rawness of their talent as well, the ability the athleticism, and it's really great. It's all there. So really what's been really good for us to being able at this All Black coaching clinic has been just to get the fundamentals, get them understanding, because you talk to some of the parents and some of our coaches and they're saying, we might say it all the time, but when they hear it from All Blacks, they think, wow, that's the best thing. And so for us, it's really just continuing to reiterate some of the messages that coaches here have been really giving to the players, and what we're really trying to give the message is, if you can try these and that you work on these as well, it's the same thing that the All Blacks are doing as well, and that brings inspiration to the young ones. So it's been going quite well, really, really well.
Wonderful. Okay, let's continue to talk to Eroni and Nathan on the Big Show TV. Meantime, here's Michael Clifford with Cool on Kiss 92.
I come from a viewpoint of someone who knows nothing about rugby.
Great.
The only thing I know is the little shorts that you wear and the and the black jersey that an ex-boyfriend gave me because he was a rugby player and I had one of those All Blacks like jerseys. So why should someone like me start watching rugby? Because I'm sure it's an amazing sport, but I have never got into it.
I guess the reason of watching it is the understanding of it. So even you guys are a team. Right, you've got people that are the glorified people, but then there's also the people that are behind the scenes, And so on a rugby field, we have all people of all shapes, all sizes that are working together for this common goal. And so I think there's some really good transferable skills between how you can do that, but then also how you can problem solve and all those things. Yes, it's the demands of a win or a lose at the end of the day, but the fundamentals of it are pretty cool, and particularly with the contact, it's something where you don't just run, you don't just kick, you don't just pass. You've got to do all three of them while trying to scan, watch, develop
strategy.
The strategy, the tic-tac that you're trying to have discussions.
That's right. And I mean, it's just like probably another, it's very similar to life. It's a communal game. It's seeing people chasing this ball around as we do in life. There's so many different, so many things that are similar to the way that we live life or we do business. And that's been the wonderful thing when you look at a game like that, the athleticism, two teams going at it and really trying to do everything in the strategies to win the game. Similarly, so it's no different to a corporate. So when people are watching that, you're seeing very similar things, but with this explosiveness, the athleticism, the skill work. And that's the sort of thing for us that really excites people to watching the game.
Yeah.
I hope that excites you, Angel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're going to play now, Angel?
Play? I don't know. Let me start watching first. I need to understand the game before
We have a women's team here in Singapore
Yes,
as well.
I'm sure we do. Yeah.
Oh, and what about the women in New Zealand? How's the rugby, the women's rugby scene in New Zealand?
Yeah, there's a Rugby World Cup for the women this year, so we are the defending champions. I think it was 2021, but it was played in 22, from my understanding, the last World Cup because of COVID. So we are the defending champions. We've just come out of a Pac 4 series between Australia, Canada and the United States. So, they're starting to build towards that rugby championship, which is a huge thing for not only just rugby in general, but a lot in that female space. It's really growing in the professionalism in that, not just in sevens rugby, which is a smaller version of rugby.
That one I got.
But also in the women's space as well. We've seen a huge population. I think football's always been really high for that women's sport, but now rugby is a professional sport for our wahine or our females in Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Right. Rugby sevens is exciting to watch.
It is, and we have that here every year, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We do, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Right. But is it real rugby?
Oh, well, if you ask the athletes, they'll definitely tell you it's real rugby.
Oh, man, it's just sprinting all the way, right?
It's an amazing game too. I mean, for us, and it was a great way to move into the 15s. So it really gave you certainly the fitness because there's so much running. But it's exciting as well because there's a lot of space, and so there's a lot less defenders. So as attackers, you've got more opportunity to scoring tries. But boy, teams are getting so tough, and I love watching it. I think the last time I was in Singapore, it was during the
sevens
tournament.
Okay, nice. Like rugby has always been associated with sort of a bigger physique. Here in Asia, we're all kind of small-ish compared to you guys in Samoa and New Zealand and Australia. Do you think that affects our potential to go international, or just kind of stay in Asia just purely because of our smaller physique?
Well, that's the wonderful thing about the game, about sevens and 15s, that both games are really they're global now. And so both of them have their same pathways as well. But I think the wonderful thing is there is still opportunities, even for players from sevens, to play 15s and vice versa as well. So, I mean, that's the wonderful thing about this game.
It's kind of interchangeable almost, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I can't believe you're talking about size right in front of Sydney Kumar. Look at how big he is.
Sydney's
Look at how big.
I know. Sydney's
man
like
is.
one of the unusual ones, right?
We heard Sydney was the man back in his day. I said,
Absolutely.
He's a big guy. We have big, well-built players in Singapore.
I'm just kind of wondering, for the not so larger boys that have aspirations to become rugby players, I'm just wondering, should they still go forward with that? But you've kind of answered that already because it's interchangeable between the two.
That's right, absolutely. And I think that's the good thing. Rugby is a game for all shapes and sizes. And so that's the wonderful thing about it. So you can move to sevens, you can move to 15s. I understand Singapore is really, in terms of the sevens levels, is really ramping up too, but it's great. The 15 games are just as equally as great as well and exciting, but certainly it's good to hear that it's really growing in Singapore.
All right, we're going for a traffic update. Stand by. You saw the red card.
Yeah.
Kiss Kiss 92 traffic.
All right, on the BKE towards the PIE after the Woodlands checkpoint, look out for a broken down vehicle. Lots of people heading up north to Malaysia. Also on the MCE towards the AYE before the Central Boulevard exit, another vehicle having trouble there. If you spot anything at all, you can WhatsApp us 885550
Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. Our guests for this morning, former All Blacks midfield back Eroni Clarke, as well as former All Blacks hooker Nathan Harris. They are in town for a rugby clinic, have been doing so for the past few days. I believe there's one more day to go. Yeah, or two.
Today and tomorrow.
2 more days.
Today and tomorrow.
And
having a good time in Singapore?
Yeah, loving it so far. The food has been outstanding. There's a fair few things to do. We went to Philippine buffet last night. It was an absolute treat. Ate every single dessert, but the rugby's been also pretty good. It's love. We love coming international waters and just getting a real feel of like the different cultures. For me, that's a really cool thing to be able to do. We sort of spend a lot of our time living out of our suitcase. So when you're missing home, you want to try and jump in someone else's culture and try and understand it and try and understand what their life is like. So it's been an awesome opportunity.
So, Eroni, you're a proud dad to current Blues star Caleb Clarke. Tell us a little bit more about that relationship with your son. Has it always been from the get-go since he popped? You're going to become a rugby player.
Yeah, I think the wonderful thing about these coaching clinics that we're running through, you as parents, you're watching your kids and you want them to continue to improve. And so it was very similar to Caleb as a father, and together with my wife, seeing our kids, we could see this natural ability coming through with Caleb. So you wanted to foster that, and so he was involved in different clinics as he got older. And then, of course, one of the things that he struggled with when he was at high school as an 18-year-old, people started to recognize him. Oh, that's Eroni Clarke's son. And so all of a sudden, Caleb talks about, well, he was walking past a father and his son, and he turned to his young son. He said, "Hey son, do you see that boy over there? That's Caleb Clarke. That's Eroni Clarke's son, and his dad was an All Black." And so Caleb heard that, and then the father said to him, "But he had a really stink game today, that young boy." And so all of a sudden he felt that pressure of that expectation from the public, and so he struggled with that with me. And when he said to me, "Dad, how do I get over this?" And I said to him, "Son, you've got to know that as a father, I don't have an expectation of you of following my footsteps. I don't expect you to become an All Black, but what I do expect of you, son, is whatever you do, when you do it, do your best." So he got over that too. So that as a father, those are some of the things that we think about, even as parents, some of the expectations that come on our kids. You want to continue to encourage them. That's why it's great to see all our kids at the All Blacks coaching clinic, and that their parents, the same thing, fostering that talent, encouraging their kids. So,
Yeah, I think that's a very important lesson.
Right. Nathan, everyone's still talking about that debut try versus Argentina back in 2014. How special is that for you?
It was pretty cool, particularly for my first game. So I left talking about playing different positions. I was actually a second five. Used to play in the loose forwards, and then I converted to hooker. So 4 years later, after leaving school, I was making my debut for the All Blacks. So it was definitely a very, very rapid rise for myself. So for my family and for my community, it was pretty epic that there was this little guy who sort of grew and he developed, and he faced a lot of resilience. So to score a try was pretty cool, not only for myself but for my community, and had a bit of a knack for scoring tries, and unfortunately just got injured a lot. So obviously not enough milk in my diet to make sure that I had strong enough bones. But yeah, very cool for my community.
Right.
You guys have been here for 3 days already, and you have another clinic today and tomorrow. Have you guys spotted any potential that could possibly make it to Australia, New Zealand?
Yeah, we think so. I think the key thing is that I put myself in their shoes. I wasn't the most talented kid. Like it comes down to the tenacity, the discipline, the staying in the moment and being consistent every single day. So if you're going to do catch pass, you'll get some kid that can throw a 30-meter pass. You're like, whoa, that's outstanding. I'm looking at the kids that aren't that talented, but they are out there
working hard
at lunchtime, doing extra things, and I'm like, that's what it's going to take to get to the next step.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So massive potential.
Okay. We have, yes. This brings me to my next question. So, when you were called up to be an All Black, did you did the both of you already know how to do the haka? Or did you have to learn it?
Oh, certainly as a kid for me, when I first watched the All Blacks, that was the very first thing. Other than the national anthem, the next thing was the haka. And so I always dreamed, once I played for the All Blacks, I could do the haka. And it was part of our culture growing up in Aotearoa. And so it was something certainly for me as a kid born in the islands to come to Aotearoa and to, again, like Nathan said, you experience the culture. And the haka was the next best thing for me when I was watching the All Blacks playing.
Nice.
A little bird told me you guys are teaching the Singaporean youth how to do the haka as well. All right, I think we've got a video, and that's going to be on the Big Show TV. It's 8:19.
Kiss 92 Time Check by Phu Thien.
Okay, are we ready to play the video?
Let's do it.
That's so cool.
Could you translate what is being said? You know what I mean? Like, what is it? I mean, it's like, let's go. We can do this. I mean, what exactly is the meaning behind that?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's probably appropriate for,
okay,
for radio.
keep it clean.
It's pretty much just saying, well, the reason that they do haka is because they're going to war.
Yeah.
So it's laying down a challenge before you're pretty much gonna
kill the enemy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your
all
words,
right.
you said it.
Okay, that's fine. We can say kill.
But what would happen was that Māori would obviously be in their different areas or their different pa sides. And there'd be different iwi, which is like sort of like a family or ancestry. And what they would come together is they'd come together, and we would have seen it in any wars, that they'd have an agreement. You know, we either want to collaborate with you, or we want to try and take pretty much your land.
Take you down.
Yeah,
Oh, take the land.
your land.
Right,
Yeah.
okay,
So the
got
land or the whenua is particularly for Māori some of the most nostalgic things that you can get, and it's where they live and they breathe, and they fully respect it. And so what they would do is they would lay down a challenge. And so, can we come to terms? No, we can't. Let's back away. And then they would pretty much walk up to them and do a haka. So the haka got established with Buck Shelford, who was an All Black captain, and he pretty much went to these two iwi to collaborate together. So he got them to collaborate together and ask for a tikanga or blessing to get a haka for New Zealand Rugby and for the All Blacks.
Oh, they needed permission to kind of get the blessing, right?
So it's like the protocols and the so kamate has been around for a wee while. Kamate pretty much means like I live, I die, I die.
Right.
So they're talking about pretty much drawing all the strengths of their ancestors that aren't either not there present or they are they've passed away, and they're drawing on their strength to then explode and pretty much lay a really good foundation and pretty much scare the opposition or the challengers.
Just by doing that.
Just by doing that. So
Yeah.
that's I think the real interesting one, that we're trying to do it without allowing these Singapore kids to understand the deeper meaning behind it.
Yeah.
So we've tried to really focus on that, but it's more just around
a
the
fun-
actions.
yeah,
When you're doing your actions, it's got to be hard.
Big,
Like you should have like red arms and red chest, and you're getting.
You should feel some pain.
Yeah, you got to feel it, because you're going to give, as Eroni said, give 100% into laying down a really foundation challenge.
Amazing.
So intimidating.
No, I know. I love the New Zealand culture. I mean, there's so much history and there's so many stories behind it. Like, you use the Maori name for New Zealand, Aotearoa. Can you pronounce it again?
Aotearoa.
Aotearoa, which means
Aotearoa.
land of the long white cloud. And I love that. I mean, all the words. My best friend is from New Zealand, Whangaparoa.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Angel.
so I was there. The only time I was in New Zealand was like 26 years ago for her wedding. But yeah. Then she moved to Australia after that. Don't judge her.
I was about to ask you, why haven't you been back?
No, yeah, don't. I've been back to Australia, not New Zealand.
Now, guys, this is a question from some of our listeners.
Okay.
Can a world rugby power like New Zealand adopt a small rugby nation like Singapore to improve our standard of rugby here?
these opportunities with running these coaching clinics is a wonderful way to start and to bring and to collaborate together. So this is a collaboration in itself. We've got Michael Marnwick from New Zealand Rugby who is running these clinics. Certainly Nate and I, we are the All Black stars that are coming to help to promote this. So this is a wonderful collaboration with Singapore Rugby, with Sydney and the team here. So that really builds good strength. We would hope that there would be opportunities for some of our Singapore players to come to New Zealand too, and we can even strengthen those relationships even stronger. We're running these across the globe as well. These 20 this year, is it, Mike? And then I think 10 this year, and then there'll be 20, so more. And it really continues to really promote the game globally, and especially it promotes the All Black style of rugby. So then more and more, it just really helps to promote the game around the world.
Fantastic.
Which countries do you think are up and coming across the globe when it comes to rugby that have maybe surprised you?
I think probably in the last 10 years, Japan has been pretty outstanding.
Number one in Asia, right now?
Yeah. So like they've heavily invested within that. Even with Singapore, so I went to Sevens training on Monday night, and Paul Titchens, who's a Kiwi player there, played with him. His dad is Gordon Titchens, who was the New Zealand Sevens coach for a lengthy period of time. So Singapore's done a really good job in that sustainability piece where we can come in and run clinics. We've got one now, potentially one in September that we're trying to do, but then they've also got the likes of Paul Titchens to be able to have that New Zealand flair for a lengthy period of time. So there's some good tournaments. SEA Games is coming up. 15s have got some games coming up as well. So, they're starting to build and make sure that there's some really good competitions for Singaporean players, both males and females, to really participate but also perform in.
Right. I think we're quite lucky to have Sydney as our general manager.
Absolutely.
To Singapore Rugby Union. Yeah, he's got a vision. He has a vision.
That's right. And without a vision, it will fall. So it's a very great thing. We've got a visionary. And it's wonderful. Just coming back to that point, Glenn, it's really, really good to see a lot of our the game around the world, some of our countries like Georgia, like certainly other countries around Europe, that are really starting to promote. We're seeing Japan really rising up as a power as well too. So it's growing. It certainly is growing in power.
Awesome.
That's great to know.
Okay, we're going to go for a traffic update and then one last talk set. I'll be asking you those two questions once again to wrap. Okay, here we go.
Kiss 92 traffic.
If you're traveling down the PIE towards the west after the BKE, a vehicle's broken down. Also on the MCE towards the AYE, a vehicle having trouble before the Central Boulevard exit. Wherever you are this Thursday morning, stay safe.
Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. We've been speaking to former All Blacks, Eroni Clarke, as well as Nathan Harris. And we've been talking about rugby here in Singapore and the potential. Now, as I mentioned just now on The Big Show TV, we've got a question from one of our listeners. Can a world rugby power like New Zealand adopt a small rugby nation like Singapore to improve our standard of rugby? And that's exactly why you gentlemen are in town, right, Eroni?
And it's been a really wonderful experience for us as former All Blacks to come in and impart some of our knowledge, to grow the game. Throughout this week, we've seen some athletic kids that are out there, which is really amazing. So you think about the future of Singapore rugby, it looks pretty strong.
Oh, great!
So and have more collaborations like this with New Zealand Rugby and other rugby nations. We've got one of our own, Paul Titchens, here that's supporting Singapore Rugby. That's in the here, so it's wonderful. We're certainly enjoying it, eh, Nate?
Yeah, definitely. And obviously we've got now Angel. She's going to start going along to trainings.
Absolutely. Need to get myself a pair of shorts.
Now, we've got a video. Cheyenne, can you play that video of this young man who's, pretty good rugby player, I feel. Let's have a look at this guy and you guys tell me whether he's got potential or not. A young guy.
Yeah. If you're listening to us on air, you can also watch this on Facebook or YouTube later on.
That guy.
This guy here with the ball.
There.
This one.
There.
Wow.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Is that
Just
you,
by
Glenn?
looking at it. You wish.
You wear a
How
white
did you
headgear.
know?
I thought,
His legs don't look like that.
No, that's actually the son of our program director,
Oh,
Mr.
that
Stephen
looks like-
Chu.
that looks like
That's Wesley.
It is Wesley.
Oh, so you've met Wesley?
Yes, absolutely.
Of
And-
course he would have.
And we're talking about athleticism, we're talking about natural ability, raw talent, and Wesley just oozes with that as well. With a few others of that we're seeing through the clinic this week as well. So certainly, Steve, you've done a good job, especially with the DNA, the genetics.
You've made our
I
boss
remember
a very
Wesley
happy person.
when Wesley was in my arms. Look at him now.
Yeah, running across that field.
Yeah, he's bigger than everybody else as well.
He is. He
very
is.
tall.
And there's a few other boys that are even bigger than Wesley, so which who are good forwards. I mean, we've seen some of them, Nate, so it's been incredible.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Eroni, and thank you very much, Nathan, for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure meeting you guys, and thank you so much for doing, so much for rugby around the world.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks,
Thank you.
It's great to be
Thank you,
with you.
gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Up next, Conan Gray, this song on Kiss 92.
This is brand new. Here's a tune that's fresh this week on Kiss 92.